against those other teams that were in that cluster around the middle and bottom of the standings with you, puts you in a good spot to say, hey, we're going to stand out now. This is our chance to prove ourselves as breaking away from that. And for Clutch and OpTic, it all starts here on day one. We're into Champion Select. Let's see how they break it down. It's going to be Irelia and Yuumi banned out by Clutch Gaming. No new champion play here in this one, as Aatrox is banned out by OpTic.
And I think it's not even just, about that the early strength schedule and wanting to get the wins here, but it's about building the confidence for these squads.
Absolutely.
Especially, I do think when you look over at Clutch and when you look over at Huni, I think he is such a confidence-driven player. He is so good when he's on his game, and when he's not, he can look very, very vulnerable. So we'll see if they can kind of start off on the right foot here. And as well for OpTic, who have kind of settled, it feels like, on meteos as their starting jungler, and we'll see how that's going to work out for them.
All right, Taric banned out by OpTic. Taric's the kind of champion I like to call an appetizer tray, because whenever there's some cheese in League of Legends, he's always the one serving it up. But OpTic Gaming is not going to allow anything like a Sona Taric or any sort of funneling strategy with Taric to be prevalent here, as Clutch will remove the Rise.
Yeah, there has been kind of a lot of whispering about funnel strategies coming out. We did actually see one come out yesterday in Academy. Paceyton was telling me about this whole strategy where they were playing Leona Corki and doing a funnel there. I have heard about a number of other funnel strategies. It doesn't seem to be the kind of prevailing strategy these days, but it is certainly an option, and some of the teams are going to be somewhat worried about it.
Well, the final ban of the first phase here is going to be the Sylas that we've seen have such an incredible presence since the champion's release. We know how effective he is as a flex pick, saw a ton of that at MSI, but we will not be seeing him here this game. Clutch decides, hey, the first thing we want to go for is one of those power laners, picking up the Jayce round one.
Yeah, grabbing that Jayce very likely would be going to Huni, but we still could see Damonte playing that. It wasn't something that he did play at all in spring, but certainly has the ability to be flexed. I do think we actually had, Lira played Jayce once in spring as well, so there is, the ability of flexing that to jungle. Certainly not the most likely of scenarios, but I do think grabbing that Jayce early on makes a lot of sense for Clutch. They want to play aggressively through top lane. Huni wants to look for lane dominance.
Over on the side of OpTic, looks like they're looking at the other end of the map here to start things off. They'll go ahead, grab the Xayah there for Arrow, and it looks like Nautilus probably for Big. We do see this champion most often in the support role. Remember, there is flex opportunity for it. It's not 100% locked into support, but that is the most common option.
It definitely is, and when you think back to MSI, back in play-ins, we were seeing actually AP Nautilus mid lane a fair bit. So it would be interesting to see if that kind of, popped up here at all in the LCS. Rakan is still open, so if you want to play, a very engage-heavy team, you could be looking for something along those lines. But I do agree, quite likely that it is going to be going down to that bottom lane. And I do think, we had seen a lot of these teams that were, more towards the bottom of the table had the most success when they were playing with easy win conditions, hard engage, multiple forms of engage in front line, and looking for that sort of team fight style. And Nautilus lends itself very well to that.
Well, talking about team fights, Rumble drafted by Clutch Gaming, a very effective team fighter, especially in the mid game, especially in those tight jungle pockets, if you can force one there. Also going to be picking up Lee Sin here. Clutch will leave both their bottom lane champions for the second half of the draft.
Now this is really interesting because Rumble in solo queue has actually been picking up a lot of steam as a mid laner. It has become quite popular in Challenger and at the highest levels. It's actually one of the highest win rate mid laners in the game right now. That being said, it's a very low play rate, and it was Huni's most played top laner in spring. So this is certainly leading me to believe that this will be a Huni Rumble, that it will be a Damonte Jayce, but things could be flexed around dependent upon matchups.
Well, OpTic Gaming is going to have a nice beefy front line there. You got your Nautilus, you've got Sejuani, also picked up now for Meteos. We've seen him on this champion plenty of times before. And as we get into the second round of the bans, OpTic knows they are looking at those bottom lane picks. What do they want to keep Cody off of? What do they want to keep Vulcan off of? The Sivir is the first thing they're keeping out of Cody's hands.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense as a takeaway. These are solo laners on the side of Clutch that will draw a lot of jungle attention, that you're going to want to have Lira playing around. So taking away some of these kind of safe wave clear style bot laners that can be played does make a lot of sense. A Sivir is certainly one of those. Ezreal perhaps another that can play extremely safe down in that bottom lane and doesn't require a lot of attention. But we have also to remember that Rage Blade did get some nerfs, so we are seeing crit marksman kind of rise up a little bit more in priority, and as a result, some of these priorities that we've been seeing in the bot lanes may be shifting.
And that's one of the fun things about getting into a new patch, especially after a big international event that goes on for quite a duration. You're playing on that same patch for a while. Get to see some new fresh faces as LeBlanc, Rakan, Sivir, and Jayce are all off the table now. It's over to OpTic Gaming to make their 4th pick.
Yeah, so Clutch certainly respecting the fact that this could just be a mid lane Nautilus or even top lane. You know, that is even less kind of consistent in pro play. We have seen it in solo queue certainly though, and the Rakan being taken off the table does show they're a little bit worried about that. Poppy very likely going to be going up to Dhokla to deal with this Jayce. It is something that can actually trade effectively against Jayce in those early levels and have some pressure there. If Huni, is to take that, and if that is going to be the top lane matchup, though, that is something that can get more and more difficult with levels. And you also have to remember, Rumble could be put up against that Poppy, which I find is generally a more difficult matchup for the Poppy.
Yeah, Poppy, we've seen it work into the Jayce. You weather the early storm, you get yourself some armor, a Sunfire Cape, and an Iceborne Gauntlet. If you know you're mostly just going to be on Jayce handling duty actually creates a very difficult situation for Jayce to need a point where he's at 3 or so items to outscale the tankiness of that Poppy. But over back to Clutch Gaming, it's Varus and Braum locked in for Cody and Vulcan.
Yeah, so that's certainly going to be the bot lane. OpTic still doesn't really know for sure exactly where everything will be going, and TF going to be locked in here.
Okay, now the question is, Azael, is it Trinity Force TF or is it traditional AP TF? For those of you who may not be aware, there was a guy posting on Reddit about how he hit #1, I believe it was in EU West, with Trinity Force Twisted Fate over the course of however many games with a 60-something% win rate. It has been the most played TF build that I've seen recently in solo queue games, in just random spectating that I'm doing in the client. So I'm curious if they're going to go with a traditional AP path or if we're going to see the Trinity Force build instead.
Yeah, it would be very interesting. And I do think that type of build lends itself quite well to split pushing. You are obviously getting the Sheen proc that is still going to be working on your W on those stuns. You also have the ability to really knock down turrets quite effectively. Early CDR is going to allow you to get out on that map quite well and be ulting to those side lanes. It's honestly pretty effective. Triforce does give a lot of things that TF does want. That being said, your burst is going to be lower. Yes. You do have the additional attack speed and some pretty good sustained damage. There's a lot of things working there, but it is not going to be that full Luden's Lichbane AP kind of one-shot style if he goes that route.
All right, loading into Summoner's Rift here. Clutch Gaming and OpTic Gaming both having the opportunity here to start off 1-0, get this split rolling exactly the way they want to. Less than stellar spring, but spring doesn't matter too much. We're in summer now. This is the one that truly counts. This is the one that determines who's going to be making those big runs towards Worlds, towards that big apex of competition here for League of Legends later on in the year. But right now, all they got to worry about is the opponents in front of them. If you look over at Crown, you can see he does have the teleport on the Twisted Fate as well as a Comet. So pretty traditional standard stuff coming out for him there. Doesn't really seem to be anything else here out of the ordinary. Taking a look at Keystones, you can see Cody Sun having the lethal tempo on the Varus. Lets us know it's not going to be the on-hit build. Will be the auto attacks. And Lira with the Conqueror on Lee Sin also means not going for that electrocute style, super gank heavy, super bursty. Instead, better at the dueling. And as the teams prep themselves up here, waiting for the minions to spawn, Ovly is standing by with a side stage interview with Clutch Gaming's coach.
Thanks, Flowers. Mixcrag, a lot of us are excited to see Cody Sun return to the Rift and join your team. What is he bringing to your team?
Mainly he's bringing a huge emotional boost to the team. He's obviously a very good player, and he's been playing really well in scrims. And he's just raising the overall emotional level of the team and just kind of a recharge that we really needed after spring split. So yeah, he's fit in really well. Our scrims have been great, and we're really excited to see him in this first game.
We're excited to see him play as well. Best of luck to you and your team. Back to you guys.
It's always a good thing to hear because morale is a hell of a drug, Azael. And if your team needs to come back into the game, get themselves in the right spot mentally, and you've got a guy who can bring that morale up, that's a huge thing. That's a very big bonus to have that doesn't necessarily show itself on the Rift in terms of gold or stats.
Yeah, and I think that's often one of the most powerful things about making a roster swap. Even if it is, arguably more of that side grade or something that isn't, an enormous boost as far as what you consider to be the skill of the player. This does reset the mental somewhat of the team, right? This makes you feel more optimistic after what was a pretty rough spring split.
All right, let's keep track of where everybody's at here. Both junglers are starting off on their red buffs, now moving down towards their Krug camps. Remember, Scuttle Crabs, they got a little bit scared compared to what they used to be here on Summoner's Rift. They don't show up as early as they used to, so junglers' paths will be taking them towards those early Krugs to make sure they get that high-value EXP from that camp, make it respawn sooner, continue getting that high-quality farm. Lira moving into the bottom lane here, thinks maybe there's an opportunity to make some sort of a play. No ward, no vision down from the side of OpTic Gaming. No real way to start off the fight here for Clutch either, so Lira just moves into the enemy jungle, looks to clean up his blue.
Yeah, no, I think it's a pretty nice path because he would have been there if Big were to go aggressive whatsoever, and I think that Clutch was trying to posture forward a little bit to try to bait that in. Since it doesn't happen, he's now going to be just looking simply to take this into a more vertical jungling style, and does have the potential for a 3 buff, as I don't believe he was actually spotted at all on this path, but meteos has sniffed it out. He is over towards this blue buff, but it looks like this is something they want to try to contest. And they have spotted him on there, and Huni can roam down. He has the push from the top side.
Damonte has placed the ward over the wall. They know that the buff is being taken. Meteos now disengaging from this. Gonna be eating some damage there from Damonte, but Clutch Gaming aware of the fact that Meteos can just get himself over the wall with the Arctic Assault. Not too worried about that one. They'll give him some pain for his troubles. But Lira will absorb the wave here in mid, waiting for Damonte to make his way back over. And it won't turn into too much else, but that does mean, as you said, Meteos gets 3 buff.
Yeah, he's going to get 3 buff. It did cost Damonte a little bit of farm. He dropped a couple minions of experience, dropped a couple CS, as he wasn't making that roam to defend it. But, that was a risky play for Meteos to really go for, because his top lane was so pushed in. Dhokla was never going to be able to actually roam to try to help in that fight. So, as soon as the Clutch solo laners actually make that move, you just have to give up the blue buff.
And that's kind of where you're at with a Poppy early on, before you get something like a Sunfire or an Iceborne that gives you that bonus wave clear. Yeah, you've got the Q, but that alone is not going to be able to answer the push coming out from that Rumble. So Huni maintaining that priority, always so very important when you have to consider where you're going to invade as a jungler. You can see Lira just moving through his top side of the jungle now, but Meteos has once again found his way into Clutch Gaming territory. He'll steal away some Raptors this time.
Yeah, and this is really nice, just being able to take away any camps that you certainly can. Meteos, did get leashed there, but
okay, a little unlucky.
I mean, you don't really want to fully commit to a fight, when these solo laners are so strong right now in the early game from Clutch, but anything you can kind of take away is going to feel really, really good, and Meteos is going to be happy to just try to farm his way to 6 and, for the most part, avoid conflict. You want to be there in case of counter ganks, but you don't necessarily want to be the one initiating a lot of these plays, because if Lee Sin were to show up, it would likely go very bad.
Right, you consider where these guys are going to be in 20 minutes. If you're a 0-0-0 Sejuani at 25, you feel way better than you would if you were a Lee Sin, right? You're going to have that late game scaling. You're going to have that team fighting that meatball power, as Dhokla wishes he was a little bit meatier here, having to endure all that damage from Huni and the flamethrower. As you already mentioned, Huni very familiar with Rumble as a champion. The man knows his way around this one.
Yeah, he really is, and this is kind of that tougher matchup, honestly. You lock in the Poppy thinking perhaps Jayce is going to be going top, but he does end up having to fight it out against Huni on this Rumble, and Rumble is going to have lane priority for quite a long time here. Certainly does give Rumble a fairly free lane, gives you that lane pressure. He should even be able to hold on to his teleport here and just walk back to lane. That's going to mean he's going to be post 6, and that can allow them to go for something like a dragon with that TP advantage.
You can see Huni going for the Sorcerer's Shoes, fully completed first purchase. Gonna be going for that magic penetration that you often see Rumbles get plenty of very early. It means that when he does find a way to TP into the fight, he does massive damage to every squishy target on the enemy team. Now, since Dhokla already has a null magic mantle, it won't be particularly effective in the laning matchup. But again, that's not really the point here. If he can get a TP into a Drake fight, into some mid-game skirmish with 3 or 4 people, that's going to be a big difference maker. But so far, still no first blood on the table. 0-0, 6 minutes in. OpTic up about 500 gold or so, thanks to the farm advantages, mostly that you're seeing there in the mid lane. Crown building that up on the Twisted Fate. Bottom side, you can see Cody off to a bit of a lead on the Jayce there over the opposing Xayah, but nobody's running away with their lane just yet.
Yeah, certainly nothing too crazy happening just yet. And a lot of these picks, I think, in some of these lanes that are getting advantages and disadvantages are more for things that they're going to do outside of the lane. When I think about the Nautilus, it's less for that lane pick. And when you're playing into the Braum, it's going to be very hard to actually aggressively engage forward. You're likely going to be punished very, very heavily if you do go forward for that type of a trade. But what it does give you is consistent engage coming in that mid game.
Big trying to engage here on the bottom side to Cody Sun. Twisted Fate making his way into the fight. There's your stun, your gold card. Flash out from Vulcan. Ignite is ticking away.
Here goes Meteos.
From behind. Remember, there is no ulti, but it is not required. Cody Sun is going down. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a double kill for OpTic Gaming.
Yeah, the cleaning crew comes in, and now Huni arrives.
Huni shows up. He drops the red carpet. He's going to be inviting loses two. It's a double kill over to Huni. He will lose his life for it, but they respond now as Clutch Gaming brings down their mid laner. Damonte is looking to land himself some shock and awe as Arrow gets himself dunked. Crown's in some trouble. Wham! Bam! There you go. That is Lira getting number 4 for the side of CG.
Yeah, Lira playing that so well, just waiting out that gold card. Once it expires, he goes in with the E-Flash, guaranteeing the slow, and this is an explosive fight. They go for the engage because TF is moving down, because they have that support coming in. And there it is, TF ultimate straight in, gold card ignite goes down. Meteos already wrapping in behind this team, has the flash, Q flash, nails both of those Clutch members and is able to clean this up. And then as Huni comes in, it is the 4v2, so they decide to go for this play, but the equalizer under the turret, Huni getting so much damage out onto Meteos and Big, roasting them up. And it does allow Lira, with Conqueror fully stacked, to try to extend this play. And you can see Crown holding onto that yellow card for quite a long time. That stun card was available. And Lira is staying out of range until it expires, then Ward Hop. E-Flash gets the slow on both. Damonte comes in, and they clean up the kills.
This is exactly why I mentioned those Sorcerer shoes for Huni. Yeah, the Poppy, she's going to be immune to it. Who cares? Those are his butt-kicking shoes, and he kicks some butt in the bottom lane as soon as he made that teleport happen. Clutch Gaming currently with a lead. Seeing if maybe they can find even more here, trying to make a move on to Dhokla. Good time in there coming out from Lira, making sure he's able to follow his opponent past the blast cone. Equalizer comes down underneath the turret. Huni says, we're not stopping, man. Dhokla says, yes, you are. And Clutch Gaming has to get out of town.
Yeah, a nice sidestep there from Dhokla, preventing any potential continuation on that dive, and he's regened up a lot of health. OpTic as well, gonna just take this opportunity to grab themselves a dragon at the same time, and Dhokla wants more!
Lira sticking around a little bit too long here, being rather greedy. Will not be completely punished for it, only taking most of the way towards dead, but you gotta be sweating a bit after that.
Yeah, that was actually really close. The smite for the heal, and Dhokla was about 2 seconds off having his ultimate back. That would have been a kill, and that's one of those ones that can be pretty embarrassing to give up a silly death like that.
Also worth pointing out, if you look at Lira's itemization, he did go for the power clear Lee Sin strategy straight into the Tiamat. Did not bother getting the advanced jungle item to enchant the smite, not going for the immediate warrior that you often see on the Lee Sins. Wants to be able to farm up against an opponent like this Sejuani that will be outscaling it.
Yeah, and look at this rush on Merctrez as well, right? So in early tier 2 boots, he has that Tiamat. This is a nod to how much CC there is over on the OpTic squad.
Yes.
Nautilus, TF, Sejuani alone is very, very rough with that, but then you add in the Xayah root, you add in the stun as well on the wall from Poppy. So Merctrez are extremely important in this game. It's the same reason you see Damonte taking cleanse here on the Jayce. So this is a lot of power clearing and also going to kind of enable Lira to move around the map more quickly and have a little bit more playmaking as he won't be so locked down by all this CC.
And once again, you saw Clutch stepping up a little bit there, just tempting OpTic. Hey, do you want to engage on us? Look, the Nautilus hook would be so easy. Lira just beyond the shadows there, but the bait will not be taken. OpTic recognized they wanted to get their support back to base, given the opportunity to shop up here a little bit.
Yeah, and it's just so tough because even if it's a 2v2, you know, if Nautilus goes in and Braum steps up, then you proc the concussive blows on the Nautilus. He has no way to get back out of that, so it does become a very dangerous engage. I think the only time you're really going to see Big going in is if they're at a massive advantage or if their jungler mid laner is coming down. So, you know, it's kind of hard to pull off those baits when you have the stronger 2v2 since there's not really any reason for you to be looking for them.
Lira now looking for the Rift Herald, seeing if maybe they can grab themselves a free objective as Damonte walking around in the river. Big walking up to face check this one. Twisted Fate ultimate, gonna find out exactly where Clutch Gaming is hiding. Lira getting himself away now as Crown goes for the teleport in here to the top side. Huni gonna be the target here to start things off. Dhokla trying to provide some follow-up damage, but the rest of Clutch Gaming has arrived. Damonte jumping in, able to find some damage. Now it's gonna be a lot of CC brought down onto the Clutch Gaming lineup. Vulcan's on the front line, but a nice shock blast gonna find its way onto multiple members of OpTic. Lira goes into the back line, gonna be killed instantly as Meteos barely walks himself away, but OpTic has low health, low mana. They're about to lose their Nautilus. A nice Spider-Man hook gets him away, but Crown is gonna be tied up by the chains of corruption into the concussive blows. One more shot will do it to it, and Cody Sun finds his first kill of the game.
Yeah, Cody Sun quicker on the roam there. The bot laner arriving means Clutch is going to take over that fight. And they only end up losing Lira, I do believe. They can pressure this top lane turret pretty effectively. Likely going to get themselves a turret plate or two up on the top side and open up themselves a lead. So, It's this one more time, the pro view, point of view here for Crown on this play, looking with that TF ultimate for this play up onto Huni, and you can see them communicating with the pings here. Remember, this is a multi-language team, so sometimes that will be the best form of communication. And that equalizer, while it didn't look very effective in the initial play, you can see how it did it effectively buy some time. Crown having to kind of back out, move around, and as they know the rest of the team is arriving, it was a full-on retreat here for OpTic, and Crown kind of getting caught out, hanging around a little bit too long here, perhaps losing track of the fact that Cody Sun was about to arrive means he gives up his life as well.
Situation looked good. He only had a couple of opponents with 200 HP left. No one was going to walk close to a Twisted Fate like that, but Cody is the thing that tips the scales in the favor of Clutch Gaming. They're now 5-4, up about 300 gold, but you couldn't ask for a much closer game here at 13 minutes.
No, I mean, it's very, very close, back and forth, and it is worth checking in on Crown's build. This is the more kind of standard old school style build. This is more of the engage heavy TF. There are kind of multiple schools of thought on how to play TF. People generally either rush heavily for Ludens, for the heavy CDR, go Lucidity, try to make plays non-stop around the map. And then there is the more defensive Roa Zhonya's build, which is going to allow you to make those initiations more aggressively. But you will, exactly, you're right into the middle of the team, you're tankier. But you don't have the ability to go for those ultimates nearly as often because you're not building up a lot of early CDR. You know, at this point, there's 0 in his build, so he's just going to have the 10% really from his runes and perhaps another 10% from those masteries.
Well, the scrap in the river the last time we saw these teams colliding meant that nobody was able to take Shelly. So since Rift Herald is still on the table and turret plates are falling in 2, 1, they are out of there. That means that there will not be any bonus Shelly gold for those this time around. So no opportunity to eke out a bit more of a lead through that, but the Rift Herald still available for another 5.5 minutes or so. OpTic thinking about maybe making a play if somebody from Clutch Gaming steps up a little bit too far here in mid lane, but no opportunity. But the Drake is live.
Yeah, and it seems like OpTic is happy to say, okay, if you want to go for Rift, we're just going to trade for another Dragon here. You know, Shelly is only the opportunity to get turret damage. It's not really anything guaranteed, and those early Dragons are very powerful now.
But the problem is you are taking a mid-game fight in a corridor against a Rumble. Now they're going to be initiating here onto Huni, looking to find the damage. Big into the zone. He's keeping himself alive there with the stopwatch. He's blown up. Anyway, Clutch Gaming, they will lose the Drake, but they find the enemy support. And now the question I pose, Azael, is what else can they get?
And I think they should be able to pressure this turret very heavily. Arrow getting chunked there by Damonte, and you can see they're trying to work down on it, but don't want to give up what is still the first turret available of the game here. And OpTic, you know, their team fights are going to be so much down to how effective is Arrow being. He's such an enormous amount of their damage, really the only consistent DPS that is in this lineup. And now Crown back, he's looking.
Oh, Crown with a nice ulti into the flash there for the stun to make sure they grab the kill onto the enemy support. So when we look at this situation as a whole, it was a 1-for-1 on supports plus a Drake over to OpTic, who now have momentum in their favor to push out the mid lane and look to Rift Herald.
Yep, they're going to push out the mid lane. You can see those pings coming on over to that Herald. And perhaps a bit of an overstay there from Clutch. They had not been able to reset, and as OpTic were able to kind of get back in preparation for that fight, they get a kill. They will likely get the Rift Herald here. Looks like Damonte's heading back to base, so I don't think we're going to see Clutch trying to contest for this whatsoever.
Rift Herald taking plenty of damage there. Clutch Gaming nowhere to be found. And the side of OpTic will secure themselves yet another objective. Still just ever so slightly behind in terms of gold, but especially now that you've got Shelly in the back pocket, it could be very easy to take down a turret. Clutch Gaming is seeing that and saying, all right, if we want to have a chance at first turret, it's probably going to be right here, right now. Shove this up. They will not keep themselves there too much longer, though. Don't want to risk the overcommit into a flank, so they'll back off.
Yeah, Crown up to the top side, pushing that out, so that is going to demand some attention. The other thing you always have to remember is, you know, traditionally, Jayce loves playing so heavily in these side lanes, but when you are playing Cleanse Jayce, not TP, it is much harder to really stick around in those side lanes. So this is a fully valid build coming out from Damonte. This is much more about poking your opponents out and then looking for an engage and kind of starting a fight with either a Lee Sin kick or, you know, a Varus ultimate or something along those lines. But this is likely not a game that is going to be won purely through side laning with this Jayce.
And it makes it feel a little bit better when you look at the Poppy inventory and see only MR items. Up against a Sunfire Iceborne Poppy, lethality Jayce feels awful. You're a ranged minion to that Poppy, you can't do anything. But considering she's only got the hoodie, she's only got the shoes, it's not too bad. you can still do plenty of damage. Ghostblade plus Duskblade means anybody without some armor in their inventory, like Arrow, is going to take so much damage from the poke that comes out from Damonte.
Yeah, and it looks like Meteos may be building towards a Warmogs, which is potentially kind of an answer to that poke. Because once you have the Warmogs, you just park yourself in front of the carries and you absorb every shock blast and you just continuously heal that back up. You know, it becomes very difficult to kind of have that poke win condition. And it looks like OpTic for now are just going to elect to trade towers. You can see Crown and Meteos are both up on the top side of the map.
But here's the important thing. It's still first turret bonus over to Clutch, despite the Rift Herald on the side of OpTic. Yeah, 1 for 1, but that edges out to your opponent yet again.
Yeah, it definitely does. I was a little bit surprised, honestly, that Meteos didn't just drop the Rift Herald and try to race that, see if they could have actually potentially gotten that first turret down quicker. But, you know, the first turret bonus isn't that massive anymore. It's much more in the turret plates, so maybe wanting to save it for a potential full turret that they feel they might be able to get here later on.
Still 2 minutes left for Meteos to decide when he wants to drop the Rift Herald. Remember, if you don't end up finding a good opportunity somewhere in there, you have to make one of those XD Rift Heralds that you just sort of throw it out onto the Rift and be like, well, I hope you do something. Probably not, but Clutch Gaming will do a good job holding onto this mid lane tier 1 for now. Not even much damage put onto it yet. Still about 80% HP as Cody Sun will continue building up these items. Has the Blade of the Ruined King, working towards that next item. Now you can see the pickaxe in inventory. As Dhokla continues the split push here on the bottom side. Neither team really looking to set anything up just yet. Both content to keep farming it out.
Yeah, both teams, you know, willing to play this very, very passively. And certainly, you know, Cody Sun, this is the kind of game that he used to have a lot of success in with 100 Thieves. And yes, this is not the same members all surrounding him, but we'll see if they can replicate some of that success, because they had been very successful in playing out these slow, methodical games and getting to that team fight stage where he could really take over, where they can protect him and enable him in these fights. But likewise for OpTic, a lot of the team fighting really is going to be down to Arrow. How well can he perform? Because yes, there is some initial burst coming out of this triple tank lineup, and even the TF, yes, can have some of that upfront damage, but it is not the consistent DPS that you need to really punch through a lot of these targets. So much of that is going to be on Arrow.
And talking about punching through targets, I like the itemization that we're seeing from both Huni and Cody Sun. Yes, it's not particularly special. You do see Leandries and Blade of the Ruined King on these champions first very frequently, but making sure that these are the champions you have so these items are optimal is great against 3 big meatballs that are mostly building health. That will do a ton in these team fights to make sure those Rumble ultis and those Varus auto attacks are really hitting them hard.
Yeah, exactly. There's only the Tabby's armor so far on Meteos, so that's going to be really powerful. And you know, this is that Rift Herald that you're talking about, where you're like, oh, well, I guess it's going to expire. All right, let's put it down.
Dot your I's and X your D's. That's the kind of Shelly that's not going to get you a lot of plays. OpTic, unfortunately, don't make a whole lot happen out of that one. But the next Drake will be the Infernal. It is live, and Clutch Gaming has a level 2 Rumble ulti.
I honestly prefer, you know, when it's down to that sort of situation. Oh, is there going to get engaged on?
They prefer to go in here onto Meteos. He's going to go into the stasis, keeping himself alive. One more hit from the concussive blows would have managed to lock him down. Dhokla now going to be in some trouble. Stunned up, lockdown himself. Flash out from the OpTic frontliners both. And with that front line hobbling away just barely, and a shock blast taking Arrow down to 25%. That's Infernal Drake over to Clutch.
Yeah, that is a very easy Infernal for Clutch. And what I would have liked to see OpTic do is simply drop the Rift Herald top lane as the dragon is going to be coming up, and then you can walk down there and you posture 5v5 around that dragon, and then your opponents are either left with the option of having that Rift Herald get guaranteed damage or answering it and giving up potential Infernal Dragon. And when you drop it in the mid lane, it's so easy to answer that and then still be around, you know, for any potential dragon fight. So, you know, OpTic not really getting anything from it. They're still pretty much dead even in the gold, but an Infernal post 20 minutes is very valuable.
And I feel like this is sort of the same thing that you were describing before we got into the game. OpTic needing to communicate these things better. Hey guys, what's the plan? Where does everyone need to be? What should we be playing for at the next point to make sure you do get something out of it and don't have that dead drop on the Rift Herald. But unfortunately, there's no way for OpTic to rewind time. That is how things have played out. The Rift Herald is down, not on the table any longer. You've still got yourself, as you said, in a very good spot. Gold is dead, even it's still 2 Drakes to 1. I'm really looking at this for who's going to jump into the driver's seat. We got two guys right now. There's a steering wheel right in front of them, and they're both fighting for the opportunity to just sit shotgun. I want to see someone take control.
And I mean, OpTic do have more of an ability to force those fights, right? You have so many forms of engage, from the TF to a Nautilus ultimate, from a Sejuani ultimate. There's a lot of ways for them to start off these fights, and it is a much easier to execute team fight. That being said, if Clutch can really either A, take out Arrow immediately at the start of the fight, or B, zone him out with things like the Equalizer, then it can start to be the situation where your tanks don't have enough damage and just get burned down in these kind of scrappy, skirmishy fights. So OpTic needs to look for a hard engage where their AD carry is free fire.
And OpTic, although you have your AD carry on a champion with a built-in escape mechanism with the Xayah ultimate, there's no QSS, there's no Guardian Angel, there's no stopwatch. These defensive tools that can manage to get him out of those sticky situations are not available, which means this is your chance, if you're Clutch Gaming, to pull that trigger.
And we've seen how Clutch has a lot of backline access with their damage, right? You know, one shock blast hits him, an Equalizer gets dropped on your head, and all of a sudden you have to back off and whoop.
All right, little bit jumpy there on trying to make the plays happen. OpTic sees a chance and wants to go for it, but unfortunately the CC will not connect there from the Sejuani ulti, so Clutch get themselves away, and now they don't have to worry about that for the next 2 minutes or so.
Yeah, and that was actually the TF ultimate as well. You know, I would like to see them started off with the Nautilus. If you drop that Nautilus ultimate, that is a guaranteed point and click. Yep. Once that hits, you can then easily hit the Sejuani ultimate, easily follow up with the gold card, and that is the sort of CC layering that you want to go for, but I guess they just didn't feel that Big was going to be able to get in range, or that it would have come out too slowly, so they did take a shot, and to be fair, they're not going to be punished for it very likely. You can already see half the cooldown is off that Sejuani ultimate, and that'll be back up pretty soon, but Lira is lying in wait.
The ward dropped in the pixel brush means he doesn't get the opportunity to jump out there, make some sort of a fancy flash kick engage. They also had Damonte still up there in the top side. Remember, this Jayce is running a cleanse because of the CC heavy enemy composition. No way to teleport into a fight if he's not already there. Didn't figure it was worth the risk. They'll back themselves away. You can also see the inventory of Damonte. Phage now next to the 2 lethality items means he's working towards that Black Cleaver, so he will be effective. If he has to shoot at this front line that is going to be tankier, he's not going to be completely up the creek.
Yeah, and he's going to be on full CDR with that build. Just from items, he will be sitting on 40%, which is going to mean those shock blasts are coming out constantly. So, you know, certainly has the ability to really change a fight with just one shock blast, kind of snaking through to that backline, catching Arrow or Crown. But OpTic, you know, playing well around Vision. They're grouping up with their front line, and that is one of the kind of big advantages with playing with all these tanks, is you can walk in meteos and Big, and these are not guys who can just get one shot if there is Lee Sin sitting in that brush, so they continually are moving forward, trying to fight for Vision around this Baron, and at least keep some semblance of control in that area so that Clutch cannot sneak down that Baron.
Cody Sun on to the completed Rage Blade now. 2 crit items also on Arrow. And this is going to be one of those games, Azale. I feel like we're sitting here, we're watching everything, 25 minutes in, it's real close. There's only been a couple big fights. Once somebody makes a call, whether it goes good or bad, it's going to determine pretty much the end of the game. We were having a conversation before this game started about how game times just don't really go past 35 minutes anymore for the most part. So even though we're only 10 minutes away from that point, I still think it's highly likely that we see one big explosive moment into a victory march.
Yeah, I mean, Baron is so incredibly powerful these days, and, you know, as you get further and further into the game, those res timers get longer. You're able to get much bigger rewards for a team fight win than you are in the early stages of the game, so it does become so important to execute perfectly in these late game team fights, and both teams have kind of opted into this passive game state, this very kind of methodical playstyle where they are building up their items, they're building up for this kind of one-punch fight, and then you have to be able to make sure you hit that punch.
Your one punch better strike true, as the next Drake is a Cloud, now spawned live here on the Rift. You can see Clutch Gaming making sure they've got control over this bottom half of the river. They'll be the first ones onto it. Things coming out from OpTic onto the top lane tier 2. Crown is split pushing. Twisted Fate does have an easy out as long as you're not able to instantly interrupt him during the channel of the ultimate if he gets caught. But OpTic won't do anything else, and that's free Drake for Clutch.
And they have double TP as well, right? So you have that TP advantage. Yes, Cody Sun has a TP, but he does not want to be answering one of those stole laners in a side lane, very likely. So, you know, they are going to have the additional globals and the ability to try to push out side lanes, then group up and look for that hard engage. And the items really are starting to come in pretty quickly here for OpTic. You can see Crown now on 3 items. He does have the Lich Bane completed. So his turret damage and his kind of one hit on that W are going to be very, very high. And they are lying in wait. If Clutch check into this, they could get engaged on.
But OpTic backed away. They didn't want to completely try to set the trap there. Clutch Gaming do roll in full force to clear out some of that vision. There is one still there around the Scuttle Crab marker in the river. But OpTic just seems so hesitant to want to make any sort of a fight happen after that last attempt got botched. Big on the front line, looking for an opportunity to maybe drop an ult. Meteos making sure no one is going to see him there in that brush. Damonte and Lira moving in to steal away the enemy red buff. But now we're starting it off. Meteos is able to find himself an ultimate onto Vulcan. Clutch Gaming now coming in full force as 5. Equalizer dropped down. Half the HP gone from both Big and Arrow. Lira coming in, looking to find the kick onto someone of value. Dhokla now going to be frontlining, taken very low very quickly. Clutch Gaming will be disengaged on. OpTic get themselves out. And this is the issue with these teams waiting so long between each and every fight. Summoner spells are always available. Disengages are likely to happen.
Yeah, but look at Huni and Lira here threatening a flank. They're trying to wrap around and pressure OpTic off this, but they're going to keep you back in. They're looking for it.
Here comes OpTic with their own kind of a flank. It's going to be Lira in some trouble. There comes the ulti. Arrow's able to grab himself 1 kill, and it looks like he's going to make it even more. Vulcan's going to be dropping down quickly, and Meteos picks that one up. It's 2-0 OpTic.
Yeah, and that time OpTic come out way on top as Clutch was without a lot of their most important cooldowns. They didn't have the Varus ult, the Braum ult, they're missing the Rumble ultimate, so all of these critical abilities were down. So OpTic look for the engage, they force it. And with Lira off the table, I really think they should be starting up this Baron, and they will now start that up. Crown is lying in wait on the side here. He does have the ability to kind of go in and flank anyone who tries to challenge us, and they have spotted Huni, so they could look for it if he tries to commit to it.
I'm glad OpTic is going for this. You have to be able to translate those sorts of wins into something bigger. Damonte, Huni, Cody Sun, all waiting for their opportunity to maybe make this stop. Equalizer still has a critical few seconds left before it is available to fire. Cody Sun is caught. Cody Sun is going to go down. It's Dhokla picking up the kill as Huni's able to find some in return. Crowd's grabbing the shutdown on that, but 2 are dead on the side of OpTic, and one of those critically is Arrow. The Baron is thwarted.
Yeah, they stopped that Baron. They're just going to start it up themselves now because the respawns have come through. And that is not a very strong 3-man squad here that is left up for OpTic. Dhokla is going to have to go back to base, so is Crown. Crown does have his TP, and Meteos is in the area, so Clutch will back off, and it just ends up being the trade of kills. Once again, neither team able to get a really strong foothold in this game.
Crown with the TP and the ultimate available in case something got sketchy real quick. But yeah, it seems like every time somebody gets something, the other team takes it right back. Here's a pro view replay from Dhokla's POV.
Yeah, Dhokla coming in, looking for that TP flank. Really nice coordination, actually. You can see Crown drop the ping ward for him to come in. He gets the wallbang onto Cody Sun there, forcing out the QSS. That gets them the initial 2 kills. And then they were able to force over by the Baron, but their turn was not the best. They did land, flash stun onto Cody Sun, but Big unable to connect with his hook. They weren't able to find that really clean engage, and that meant that the solo laners, the DPS from Clutch, were able to turn things around.
We're 30 minutes into this game now, and it's still only 1,000 gold separating the 2 teams. Really showcases exactly this situation of everyone feeling like they're just stuck, waiting for the opportunity to make something happen. Clutch Gaming now moving up, trying to clear away some of the vision from the jungle of OpTic, but will not succeed in doing so just yet. Huni walks forward to make sure they grab that last one. Rumble level 16 now, so that means you have the biggest equalizer possible with Zhonya's, with Void Staff, with Liandry's. That's what Clutch need. A big fight with a big Rumble.
Yeah, certainly the case. And it does feel like now for OpTic, what they're going to try to do is get a fight that is not fully committed, back off with their double Warmogs. Frontliners regen, then look to re-engage. If you can get that equalizer out, back off, heal it up, look to fight again, your kind of next fight is going to be much more powerful than that of Clutch, who I think are more reliant on those things like the equalizer to really have an effective fight. And Arrow now is on his 3rd item. He has the IE. Meteos flanking from the side here, has ult.
Meteos shows up. He's able to find the ulti onto Vulcan. Crown now backing away with the rest of OpTic. Equalizer into the back line. Arrow going to be taken very low. Can't make his way any further forward. Meteos going to be burning down rather rapidly. Huni now stunned up here onto the front line. Lots of CC coming out from OpTic on return to Clutch Gaming. Already going to be losing their jungler. Big drops low, but Huni drops dead and that's 2 for 0 OpTic.
Yeah, and look at meteos. Meteos was down to 5% health, but he got out, and now they're going for Damonte.
Oh, Damonte with a nice stopwatch, keeping himself away from the gold card, but OpTic still win the fight here yet again. Crown's gonna stick around in the mid lane, buy some time, put some damage into the turret, not quite able to take that one down, but that's not what matters, Xayah. Baron is again the call.
Yep, the double frontliners healing right back to full after that fight with the Warmogs. Meteos was down to 5% health or so. Now back to full, and all that Clutch can do here is trade the Infernal. It will be Baron going the way of OpTic and getting the first major lead of this game.
All right, this is what we've been waiting for. The part of the game where one team finally takes a noticeable control of the game. Let's take another look at how they did it.
Yeah, here this is one more time. Meteos does find the engage. It's not onto the best target, though, with that Braum, but then kiting backwards. The equalizer is dropped, and look how quickly Arrow gets very, very low, just from a tick or two of that. But Meteos, Stoneblade active, has tanked so much damage. Then as they commit forward, trying to get that kill onto Meteos, look on the right side of your screen, he's barely surviving. Arrow is free-firing. You cannot afford to commit all those cooldowns and all of that energy forward onto one of the frontliners. It allowed Arrow that free time he needed to shoot out and take down Huni as well as Lira. And this was honestly just a great stopwatch from Damonte, immuning that gold card, waiting till it was out in the air and then hitting it so that the gold card fizzles instead of it still being ready for when that stopwatch ended.
Yeah, that was a very impressive response there from Damonte. Couldn't have done that much better. Even got the shock blast out before he went into the stasis, but unfortunately for Clutch, it's not enough to prevent their opponents from being able to get the Baron. They're now in a spot where OpTic has 2.5 minutes to take control of this game in a super convincing way. You've still got 3 turrets standing outside the enemy base. That's a lot of standing gold, plenty of opportunity to build a lead. Equalizer dropped down. Arrow forced into the ulti there. Nice cue from Lira to make sure of that one. While bottom side, Crown keeps split pushing.
Exactly. All they had to do was back off, buy time, but you can see how powerful that Rumble is. Really, it's a tick or two of equalizer, and Arrow's almost dead. He basically has to back off. Yeah, that was his Hex Drinker proc, so pretty insane the amount of damage put out there, but without that equalizer, Huni is certainly much less threatening, and the ability to play the map with this Baron buff is so powerful.
Uh-oh, they got some trouble on the front line now as Meteo's going to be taken down to 5% here yet again. Throws out the ult defensively. Cody Sun going to be forced to pop the QSS there to continue the chase.
Warmogs.
Lira's thinking about it, but yeah, Meteos will quickly be healing up. Look at that. The Piggy is back in business as Meteos is once more ready to frontline here for his team. The power of Warmogs against a team that wants to go all in on you like that. Arrow's down to half HP. Lira still looking for an opportunity to maybe grab a kick, but there's only so many good targets, and by that I mean 2. Crown and Arrow, the only guys you really want to go in on here. Shock Blast finds its way onto Arrow, but the equalizer angle is ever so slightly off. Arrow does a good job running diagonal to what he thought it would be and gets out alive.
And that was a blind equalizer. Huni was fishing for that. They knew the Shock Blast landed, so he decides to go for it. I mean, if you hit, probably 1 tick kills Arrow there.
Yeah, for sure.
So he would just go down. So I do think it's worth taking that shot, and honestly, Clutch, this double Infernal feels like it's really kind of keeping them in this game. You have 4 people stacking AD and AP with this Lee Sin, as well as, both double damage soul laners, so they really do put out a ton of damage. And here this is one more time. Shock Blast tags. They don't know exactly where he is, so it is a blind equalizer. He drops it, and that was inches away.
Yeah, if it was aimed more horizontally, it would have hit him. And because the Rumble equalizer does more damage on the first tick as the rockets fall, I'm almost certain that would have been a kill.
Yeah, and I mean, it guarantees the Comet hit because of that initial slow as well, so certainly can be, very powerful. But OpTic, not able to break the base with this Baron buff. That's going to expire.
Yeah.
They took some outer towers, but that's really it. This was not lethal damage whatsoever. And yes, they have a 5,000 gold lead, but at this point in the game, double Infernal with 4 main damage dealers, the gold lead is basically nothing. That is worth a tremendous amount of stats.
I blame myself, Xayah, for saying this game would be over by 35 minutes. I set it up. I messed it up. I caster cursed it.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's my bad. We all have those flubs sometime, but
yeah.
Now it's up to OpTic again. 5,000 gold ahead. You've still got yourselves a nice lead. You've still got a very difficult to kill front line. But the name of the game, as you've said so many times, is arrow, arrow, arrow. If he can free fire, they can win a team fight. If he's zoned out because he's at 2% HP from a single equalizer, things are rough.
Yeah, and he does have a full Maw completed now. I would like to see him just go into some lifesteal, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, yes, you cannot build the Warhogs, but you can build a Bloodthirst, so you can build some lifesteal, bro, and heal back up when you do get poked down. You know, go over to a jungle camp, and he may just be relying on things like Legend Bloodline more heavily to try to, you know, kind of compensate for that lack of lifesteal in the build. And this certainly is a higher DPS build. But it is tough when there's so much poke on the other squad. If you are not blocking perfectly, you're in trouble. And now the TP is coming in. They're looking for the engage. Huni's going to be behind them.
Clutch Gaming has started things off, but Huni is alone. A nice ulti coming out there from Crown to spot them out and see exactly what they're doing. They recognized it looked funny, and they knew exactly what was going down. As now Huni will be locked down, but returns plenty of damage with the Flame Spitter. Big's in some trouble, having to get himself away. And OpTic's plan goes south. They will lose their support, but in the base, it's Crown. Top side, he's taken down the inhibitor, and the rest of OpTic will now try to stop the ports. If Damonte can get himself back, he'll at least be there in time. He will make it back to the base, but OpTic has won the fight.
Yeah, all they had to do was really buy time there, and they get the inhibitor tower and the inhibitor. So, while it did require Big kind of just giving his life for the cause, well worth it. And Huni now in trouble.
Huni's going to be taking quite a lot of damage here as Dhokla's looking to knock someone away, make this fight work out. Vulcan on the front line. Meteos continuing to chase. Arrow's the only damage here, but now OpTic's in some trouble. Over the wall they go. They're looking to find even more damage. Lira's going to be blown up in retaliation. Dhokla tries to get himself out. Arrow takes down Lira.
Yeah,
But that's the only casualty.
Lira, though, that was a beautiful kick, helping to turn that around. That could have been devastating for them. But he gets a three-man kick, and now Huni caught.
Stops Azale. Meteos now able to take down Huni. Vulcan barely getting himself out. Huni continuing after him there with the flail. Manages to stun him up
TP
with the blast
coming
zone,
in.
gets him away. Here comes Crown. Here comes a redemption. That's not going to do anything because he got away with the teleport anyway. Meteos comes in with the whip saying, get back over here. There's Big. He's got another one. They finally got enough to bring him down. Good Lord, man. How long is this fight going on?
They're coming out of the woodwork left and right. They're behind you. They're above you. OpTic is everywhere, and they're closing in on closing out this game. Huni, 25 seconds on his res timer, over 30 seconds on Vulcan. Second inhibitor will fall. And OpTic, only one Nexus turret up. They're going for the end.
OpTic properly communicating to have Crown go and take that top inhibitor was what really made this all possible. They're on to the Nexus now. Clutch will not be able to hold them off. And OpTic starts summer off with a win.